Hey guys, John, Vapor Honing Technologies here today. The first of many podcasts to come. This is a new thing that we are looking to do here. The point behind this, obviously, is to answer a lot of questions that we get on a daily, weekly basis from you as customers or potentials, but also to discuss some things that we wouldn't normally discuss in video content. Maybe how to run a business, how to start a business, how to create a multi-million-dollar business. Those things I think that a lot of people have questions about. You know, how to market your product or your service, things that I'm super passionate about and have been for 9 years now, moving into 2020. Introduce myself again because I don't think I did in the beginning. Jonathan Wise, president of Vapor Honing Technologies. And today we're going to start it out with a few questions and comments from Instagram, some things that we have pulled. So let's just start working down the list here. We have Send It 55. What's the difference between this and, say, micro polishing from a place like RimChem or CryoHeat? Great question. Actually, and this comes from the video, if you guys don't know, that I did on the little camshaft on Instagram, and I think we produced it to YouTube as well. And the point behind the video was to simply show you how to use a 1200 mesh ceramic bead to do a polish on a part. When you get into RimChem or CryoHeat's process, Josh LaHaye, by the way, fantastic out of CryoHeat. We've partnered with Josh now for about a year. Looking forward to doing some content with him in 2020, but those processes are drastically different than vapor honing. I have never claimed to be like those processes. Obviously, they take the surface down to maybe a 0 or a 1, basically as smooth as you could ever possibly be with a process. And they do many other things other than polishing or smoothing the surface, specifically with Josh's CryoHeat process. You guys go check that out, though, if you haven't. CryoHeat, he's on Instagram and YouTube, I'm pretty sure. Does some really, really great stuff, not just with super finishing, which is what I would call these processes, super finishing, but he does some other things as well. But the difference, obviously, we're a blasting process, so we are not a micro polishing process or a super finishing process, but we do make parts look fantastic if you want to do that. I've shown a lot of performance engine builders in the world over the last few years how to use this process on cruddy, dirty internals, just to help bring them back to life and to polish them back up. Something to use as marketing content for any business, which you guys that are watching, if you have a business, you should be doing that, using these types of things as marketing content, because it certainly makes you different. But again, we're an aesthetical thing here. That's what I was trying to promote, was how to make something look really good. Again, there are no benefits from the polishing process like super finishing and CryoHeat. Those are other beneficial processes, not just making things look good. So hopefully I didn't butcher that one up for you guys too bad. But there's certainly a difference, and we do not claim to be the same. Never have, never will. So moving on down the list, CD Lamont. How much material is removed during the wet blasting process? Any concerns with removing too much material for press fit bearing seating surfaces? Great question. Certainly get it a lot with performance engine guys. And essentially the question he's asking is, are we removing material? Are we going to remove material where a pressed fit bearing is going to fall out? And the answer is simply no, we will not remove material where a pressed fit bearing will fall out of its original spot. The vapor honing process, we have always said that it does not remove material. If it removes material, you cannot measure it. Let's go ahead and throw that out there. You cannot measure this unless you have some very high-end aerospace scanning electron microscope tools. Like you and I, the average Joe doing engine builds, will never be able to measure this with a micrometer or calipers. Just can't. Sandblasting, obviously we know what sandblasting does. It ruins surfaces. You're going to eat material away. That's what makes us so unique and so different. We do not eat and abrade material away, simply because we're a flow-based process. We suspend water and abrasive together and shoot it at the surface. And you have to think about it this way, something we were talking about over the weekend actually with training. When you look at, let's say, dry glass beading, you have 100% abrasive. Think about it that way. You're propelling 100% of abrasive at the part surface. In a vapor honing cabinet, you have about 20% of abrasive to 80% water. So instead of 100% of abrasive, we only have 20% of abrasive in that water mixture, which is, again, what makes us so unique and less destructive, still very effective. I think a lot of people still struggle with the concept, like how much abrasive do we use? Is it effective? Is it slower? Is it faster? Look, I've been called a liar before, actually. I told a guy who used to glass bead, and I was selling him a machine to do vapor honing on some engine parts, Subaru components actually. And he said, look, I'll buy the machine from you if you tell me that it's faster. And I said, well, I'm not going to sit here and say that anything's faster or slower, because that's really going to be up to you. You're the end user. You know how your air system's set up, because that's a huge effect on these cabinets, is air supply. I said, but I can tell you that it's easier to use. So from that standpoint, if it's easier to use and you can see, you should be faster, right? And so he called me back, I think a couple days later, maybe a week later, and he said, you're a liar. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, it's totally faster, vapor honing is, than sandblasting. And I said, well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I thought you were about to say something totally different. He said, no. He said, you need to tell people that it's faster. He said, not just from the standpoint that I could see, but just the process. And he was polishing, cleaning cylinder heads, Subarus, super fast, super clean. He said, it's just ideal situation. And I'm not creating a mess, all over my shop like I used to. But go back to material removal. I mean, you can't measure. The standard average Joe cannot measure the material. If we do remove it, you can't measure it. So that's why we say no material removal. If I'm talking to an aerospace engineer, I'm not going to say that because I know that they measure things on a different scale than we do, right? It's a totally different market. And we're talking about airplanes that keep us up in the air. Thank God they don't measure things like I do, or the average mechanic does. So yeah, I think you have to understand your market, and for this purpose, this is engine building, and this gentleman's asking if a press fit bearing falls out after vapor honing. No, it does not. That's really, I want to go a little bit deeper into that question, because I think one thing that people often overlook with the vapor honing process is they only look at the outside of a part, so they don't see what they can do to like the inside of a part. Let's, for example, say an engine case, like a motorcycle or dirt bike or four-wheeler. They don't think about what they can do inside of the part as well as the outside. And I've always pointed out to customers who are motorheads like myself that if you're building this engine for someone, you want them at one point to open up that engine and maybe service a clutch or something, open up the engine and see the cover and think, my gosh, this thing is super clean and pristine inside, not just outside. So that makes them feel like they've gotten value or a good product back from you as the engine builder. And I think people overlook that. Some people don't process enough on the inside of the part. I'm OCD, so when it comes to cleaning parts inside and out, I'm going to do every area I can find, every surface, every part, and it's just added value. So like when you're starting this business journey, and you're working an existing business, you add a ton of value using the vapor honing process, going into the areas that you think your customer would never look, right? So when they open it up, they're super happy. They're going to come back to you again and again. And of course, if they're happy, they're going to recommend their buddies and their friends as well to come and see you. So again, there's a lot of value to be added with vapor honing and getting away from some of these details here. And it's a very important key, to think about as a potential business or a business owner right now. So keep that in mind. Let's move on down the list. Motor Brain 502. What's the rinse and drying process? I'm trying to decide how much real estate in the shop I'll need to dedicate if I get one. Real estate. Everybody has problems with space. Doesn't matter, right? Back in 2018, I purchased 130,000 square feet of real estate under roof, and today we have a space problem. So how does that make sense? So obviously in my shop at home, I have a real estate problem, right? It's not 130,000 square feet. Everybody has that problem. I don't care if you buy the biggest building in the world, you're eventually going to have real estate problems. So it's a huge problem. It's a huge point, and it's something that people, have to overcome every day. So we get that. So the point is, what's the rinse and drying process? That's the first question. The second question is the real estate. If you look at the footprint of the machines that we build, which we have the footprints listed online, it's a safe rule to go about 2 or 3 feet more in either direction for potential real estate that you're going to need to put a machine, right? Because that could be determined by the closed loop tanks in the back, any air supply connections or any air tanks that you might need, or air compressors. Think about 2 or 3 feet in any given direction of a wet blast cabinet or vapor hone cabinet. And for the door, you want to make sure the door has space to open. If you have a concern on space and you can't really move anything in your shop because you've already organized it to the best of your ability, then look at some of the top load options that we have, which is why we built those machines. You have the 450, the 650, and the 685. Those are 3 top load machines that we build, and they're big enough for your average restorer, right? Or your average CNC shop that runs like a 12 by 12 part or a 15 by 15 part max. Those parts are really good for that. So just think about that with the space. If you don't have space, get top load. If you don't want top load, then make sure you have 2 to 3 feet extra. And that's just a safe measure. Obviously, you're not going to need that much, but that helps you plan a little bit. Let's answer the first question here. What's the rinse and drying process? The rinse and drying process. So I'm guessing or assuming he's talking about after processing the part. You have to rinse the part, absolutely. We just covered this the other day with a person. I like to rinse the part in the cabinet, obviously, first to remove the majority of the abrasive, and then I use a dip tank. We have some videos out there on dip tanks that maybe we could put in the description below that you guys can watch. Dip tanks are fantastic because they help. When you violently shake a part that's submerged in water, that water is going inside and outside of that part, and it's grabbing any residual abrasive that could be clinging to the part because of the moisture. And so it's grabbing that abrasive and it's pulling it out. So that's why I use a dip tank on every part that that I pull out of a cabinet. I rinse it first in the cabinet to get the abrasive, the majority of the abrasive. And then, of course, I dip it. Then I air dry it, right? That's the second step. Air dry it very well. When you think you have it dry, keep going, right? Go above and beyond. Some people get lazy. Some people stop. There's moisture still left on the part. And what's moisture going to do to a very cleaned aluminum part? Or, an aluminum part. It's going to start corroding. It's going to develop that white aluminum oxide powder that you're going to see, which is corrosion starting. So if it's steel, obviously if it's steel and it has moisture on it, it's going to rust immediately, unless you have some corrosion inhibitor in the water. So you have to get that thing dry. So when you think it's dry it some more. That's always the rule that I've done. Look, it's boring, it's time consuming sometimes, but just do it. You're going to save a lot of headaches and a lot of problems moving forward. So hopefully that answers those questions. Silver bullet, 13, 13, 13, 13. I don't know how some of these people come up with these names. This is impressive. Anyways, does this take off any material or just clean? Mainly for things with specific clearances like cylinder heads, etc. Here we go about the tolerance thing again. As you can see, this is a common denominator here. So first question, does this take off any material? No. I said this earlier. Nothing that you and I, as an average everyday mechanic, can measure. We can't measure it. You can blast a piston 1,000,000 times over and over again. I'm telling you right now, of course with the correct abrasive, but I'm telling you right now, you can't measure any dimensional tolerance changes with any of these parts. I've done this for 9 years. So I've had a lot of mechanics come through the door. I've had some guys measure some parts. You can't tell. You can tell it's clean, super clean, looks new. A lot of people think it's a brand new part, but not going to change the dimensional tolerance, not going to take material off. It just cleans very well, because that was one of his other questions. The reason that vapor honing cleans so well compared to any other process in the world is the flow-based nature of the process. Think about it as a garden hose, right? You're spraying a garden hose, you're spraying a 2 or 3 inch diameter stream of water at the part, of course, under more pressure than a garden hose with abrasive suspended in it. The abrasive just gently runs across the part, and it's going in every little nook and cranny and surface and peak and valley, giving you the cleanest part available. When we do the tape test, and I haven't shown you this video, when we do the tape test for a coating prep application, take clear tape, sandblast the surface of a part with the same abrasive, same pressure, vapor hone a part, same abrasive, same pressure, rinse and dry, do the tape test, you're going to have a dirty piece of tape on the dry blast part and a clean piece of tape on the vapor hone part. It shows you how clean and how deep cleaning the process really is. And I think there's so many overcomplicated people in the world trying to make this so difficult. Let's face it, we're all gearheads and motorheads, and of course I have the aerospace guys that we talk to. But, again, as everyday Joes like me, there's no other process in the world for the money and the time and the space. Like, you can't do anything else. Like, you can't get anything else. This is it. Like, this is the best in the world. And I noticed this back in 2010, I think it was, 2011, before anybody in the world was talking about this. We literally started this whole movement of people using this process. But there's nothing else in the world that you can clean apart like this. And that's the awesome thing about it, right? It really is a magical machine. Again, clearances, cylinder heads, you're just cleaning that surface. You're not changing the dimensions. You're not eroding the material away. If you use 19 grit aluminum oxide, then you're going to erode the material away. If you guys have ever used 19 grit, looks like rocks, like pebbles. Have you guys seen 19 grit aluminum oxide?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And people need to see that. I guess we could do a video on that. But if you guys could see 19 grit aluminum oxide, you would know that, hey, that's going to destroy something. We used that one time removing a very difficult coating for a company. I don't recommend it. Don't recommend using it. Very hard on the machine, very hard on the parts. But with the glass beads or ceramic beads, you're not taking material away. Or your fine 220 aluminum oxides, 220s, 300s, 400 mesh, you're not removing material. So let's move on. A more 86915. Can you guys show this process before and after on a dirty green float bowl of a late model machine with ethanol fuel in it? That's pretty good detail. I've shown many carburetor examples, component examples. I'm not sure I could get this detailed for you, and I apologize. Wish I could. But if you have something to send in, send it this way. We'll take care of it to show you the process. But it's going to clean it up, right? I mean, here's the cool thing about it that people don't get. So when I go to a swap meet, or I'm in a junkyard, or wherever I'm at, a car dealership where they have crap parts laying out back, everything I see nowadays is gold. Because if you have one of these machines, it totally changes the way you look at these parts. I mean, you could bring in a vintage part that's from the 40s, and it could look like it sat on the ocean floor, but you can put it in a vapor home cabinet, and in 5 or 10 minutes, it's back brand new. It looks like new. Looks like the totally different part. It's going to blow your mind. And that's one thing I can't really describe enough to people is like it's truly a life-changing or a business-changing tool. It's not just another blasting cabinet that you've been used to and I've been used to, because let's face it, we've been used to a lot of crap, a lot of cheap stuff, stuff that doesn't work, over-promised and under-delivered. And this machine is just not that. I think that's why we had a breakout year, 2019, because people starting to realize that, hey, this is really not, it's not fake. It's not snake oil, right? And I think you guys, like behind the camera a lot of times, people are going to say that, people are going to say, well, that's fake. They spray painted that part. How many times have you heard that one? But anyways, so let's go some more questions here. I have a big compressor. Could I just get a full-sized extra tank and link them for more usable air? All right, this is a good one. So talk about air compressors. People have the misconception that if you have more air storage, your machine's going to function better. And in a way that's true as long as your air compressor itself can produce the CFM to refill your air supply. For example, in our plant, I think we have about 1,500 gallons of air on tap because we have extra tanks hooked up to a huge industrial compressor. The problem is, if I don't have a compressor big enough that's capable of pumping enough air back into the tanks, I'm just going to suck those tanks down. And obviously, when you get to a certain level, you don't have as much pressure, right? Because you're dropping pressure every second you're using your tanks. So that's a huge misconception that if you have more storage, the machine's going to work better. As long as you have a big compressor, you can add those tanks. But I'm talking about 30, 40, 50 CFM, 60 CFM. You're going to need a lot of CFM to be able to keep, let's say 80, 100, 120, whatever gallons on storage. You're going to need a lot of CFM to do that. So I would just focus on getting a good compressor. Getting a good compressor is going to save you a lot of headache and grief. And you don't have to do all the plumbing and stuff. Get a really good compressor. You're going to spend about $2,000 on a really good, decent compressor. Now, there are hobby options. I think I have an Ingersoll Rand 5 horsepower SS5 pump on it. Produces like 19 CFM. It works. For a hobby machine, it works. But I can only go at max like 90 PSI. So it struggles when I try to do a coating removal process or a coating prep process because I don't have the PSI there to actually effectively remove the coating. You need about 120 PSI if you're going to remove coatings. So think about that when you're looking for your compressors. Huge point. All right, Mike Cease, if I pronounced that correctly. Does vapor honing remove mill scale or hot dipped galvanized? Mill scale, it will remove. Hot dip galvanized, that's probably a different story. But mill scale, yes, we have powder coating guys that use vapor honing right now to take mill scale off the parts. We've actually done it for the powder coating company a couple times on some of the parts that we do. Obviously, so the powder coating sticks better to the part. But again, hot dip galvanized, I think I've tested it once, and I think it's pretty tough to get hot dip galvanized off. That would be great for preparing for TIG welding. Also, what about paint removal on plastics? Paint removal on plastics, absolutely fantastic. Great process for that. Even fiberglass parts. So all the motorcycle guys in the world that need to prep plastics and your fiberglass or carbon fiber for paint, vapor honing is fantastic for that. You're not going to be eroding and taking away that material and damaging the part. There's no major Bondo work to be done after that. So it's a great coating prep process for that. Great question. Smitty Burt. Smitty Burt.
Smitty.
All right. We have one and it works great, but how do you clean them afterwards? We have one and it works great, but how do you clean them afterwards? I'm assuming he's meaning the cabinet. Seems like the media gets everywhere and doesn't like to come out of the holes or trapped parts. Seems like the media gets everywhere and doesn't like to come out of the holes or trapped parts. That goes back to cleanliness, but let's answer that first one real quick here. So, works great. How do you clean them afterwards? Maybe he's talking about the parts. All right, let's go. We'll act like he's talking about the parts. You have to, again, dip tank the parts, air dry the parts. Do it again. Dip tank and air dry if you have to. If the parts have been air dried with compressed air, of course, don't just set them out. Compressed air dry. Then if you have like drilled tapped holes that you're very concerned about, or you have, let's say, a carburetor slide that you want to get abrasive out of, or a passageway or something, I've always used some brake parts cleaner in the past. Because I think it works really well. That's the cheap, down and dirty way to do it. If you have an ultrasonic cleaner, ultrasonic cleaners are good for, for higher end shops or people who want to spend a little bit more money on a machine, but they help clean the internals. You just do not need to use any solvents or chemicals in the ultrasonic because you're only trying to vibrate and get that abrasive out of the part or off the part. You're not trying to actually do a standard cleaning like you would in an ultrasonic cabinet. Hopefully that makes sense. How fast is Keener 2005? How fast is it to change between different types of abrasives? Oh man, that's a good question. There's one easy way to change the abrasive in a vapor hone cabinet, and that's to pump the machine dry. Using the slurry pumping system itself while you're feeding fresh water into it. That's a great way to clean the machine, and it's much faster. It'd probably take you about 10 minutes to do that, maybe 15. But if you try to drain it the original way with the drain valve that we have on the machine, not only are you going to make a mess if you don't have the setup to do that, but it's also going to be much more time consuming because you have to rinse out essentially mud in the floor of the cabinet. And that's always a pain because you can imagine really fine abrasive wet is like a brick or it's like wet sand on the beach. That's a great way to describe it. Like if you get sand in the bottom of a bucket with water and you pour all the water out and you have that sand left over, that's what the abrasive looks like or feels like. So it's not a fast process, but it can certainly be faster if you pump the machine dry. OSO Barkley Arcane Moto. I'm enjoying reading these screen names. This is more fun. How do you prevent rust from cylinder studs and rust in the cylinder sleeve? Awesome question. WD-40 Well, first off, if you use rust inhibitor in the machine when you're vapor honing, it helps eliminate that quick, immediate flash rusting that you're going to get. But after that, after you've washed it, you've dried it, WD-40, paper towel, wipe the studs, wipe the inside of the cylinder walls. Fantastic, quick, easy way to keep corrosion or rust down. Cheap as well. Cody Clark, 94. Will the aluminum oxide... What? Will the aluminum oxide after you do this? What does that mean? Can you interpret?
What did he say?
He says, will the aluminum oxide... Oh, excuse me.
Maybe
Sorry.
One of the nouns of the verb.
Will the aluminum oxidize after you do this? Maybe I need to learn how to read. Will the aluminum oxidize after you do this? I've had... If you dry the parts... That is really loud.
We get some foam. They'll absorb this thing.
If you dry the parts really well, you're not going to get that oxidation like you normally would if you leave moisture on them. Now, people are clear coating these parts with a Cerakote clear coat. There's also a great product that you can wipe on. It's an aviation formula that they spray on the airfoil of wings and the fuselage of an aircraft to keep corrosion down. But you can spray the aluminum parts with this stuff and wipe it in. It's cheap. We've got a link. We've got a video that you can buy this stuff. We can put it in the comments below or the description below. You can go get that stuff. But that stuff helps prevent oxidation or oxidation. But I've seen people not dry parts and leave them sitting on the shelf for 10 minutes and they'll start oxidizing pretty quickly. Get that white powder that we talked about. I have some engine parts. Remember those parts that we had on the stand for the show? 2 engines? Those parts have been 2.5, 3 years ago. They've been blasted that long. They've been sitting in a trailer. You know, they get exposed to sunlight once in a blue moon. They've gotten rained on before. We dried them off. But those parts still look pretty good, right? I mean, they haven't even oxidized, I don't think, at all. They look pretty darn close to the original finish that was achieved. So I think it's just a big fear that people have. I think it's something they're struggling with too. You know, you're trying to not buy this process when in reality you should be buying it and, you know, trying this stuff out for yourself. Larshner. That's a tough one. Does this remove or damage the Nicosil plating in the cylinder? Absolutely it will. I have never blasted the inside of a cylinder deliberately because I know it's going to change the surface of the cylinder at that level because, again, we're talking about honing a cylinder, cross-hatching a cylinder. I never shoot the cylinder. If I have it honed or machined first, I'm going to do something to stay away from the cylinder. I'm not even going to get near it. So I'm assuming, I'm sure it would take Nicosil plating off the cylinder. It's definitely going to change the finish on the cylinder. So it's going to take the cross-hatching out of the cylinder. You're going to level that. You're going to push that material around. So don't even get near cylinders. It's not a good idea. And I think to add to that, you know, a lot of people ask, hey, should I machine the part first or should I machine the part after I vapor hone? I tell people to machine the part and then vapor hone the part because you want to clean it, right? You want to get it to look good again because if you vapor hone it first and then you machine it, you're going to have cutting fluids and coolants and oils and all this crap. It's going to make the part look horrible. So if you vapor hone it, you're just wasting your time because he's going to make it look hideous again at the machine shop. So machine the parts, stay away from those critical areas, stay away from the valve seats, the valve guides, the cylinders. Like just don't get near it. You know, it's like shooting bearings. Like you're going to ruin a bearing, right? If it's a needle bearing, a roller bearing, get those things out of there. You don't need to put those in the machine. Ask me, I've done it before. So Oh, this is a good one. T-boner steak. You can't make this stuff up. It's right here on the sheet. T-boner steak.
I just want to tell you right until the usernames was 69 on the end.
Oh, yeah. That's even better. Can you perhaps make a video explaining the differences between a standard dry blaster and a vapor setup? Vapor setup. I'm interested in a small unit. Thanks. Yeah, we have plenty of wet versus dry videos. How many do we film? We filmed quite a few at the end of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We could film some more. Most everybody knows the pain and agony and misery of a dry cabinet. I do. That's why I chose to vapor home. So we have some videos out there. Maybe the guys can put those in the description below, and you guys can go check those out too. Shows you the difference between the process and the finishes and the results, and using the different abrasives and what you can and can't do. And plain and simple, you need to make the switch, right? You need to make the switch from dry to wet. There's no comparison. Like I don't know a process in the world today that I would dry blast versus vapor on. I have not run into anything today, and I've been doing this for 9 years. I have not run into a process that I would not use vapor honing on. We go visit plants every week, right? We go visit businesses every week and make pitches and sell people these products, because that's what we do. We sell you something that works. And I don't know of a reason I would ever use a dry cabinet again. Other than just to remind myself how painful it really is, like to show how painful and how miserable the experience really is. And all of you guys out there that own businesses and gals, like, you guys need to think about your people. Like, think about the misery that they go through using these crappy machines that you have tucked in a corner for $300, right? That you bought online at some e-commerce store, and nobody ever supported you, and you're spending $25 every other day on something because it breaks. It's just a piece of junk. Plain and simple. These cabinets are crap. You can pay a lot of money for a piece of junk too. That's another point. I mean, there are some companies out there that sell you some dry blast cabinets, and you can buy a damn good vapor home cabinet for that same price. Something that's going to be way better. The service life is there, obviously, because we have a lifetime warranty. We take care of people every single day and every single week and every single year that goes by. We replace parts. We don't have things that break. That's the cool thing about it. Stuff just doesn't break. People are like, oh, I don't know if you have parts in stock. We have parts in stock, but you're not going to need these parts, right? And if you do in 10 years, call me. We'll have the parts for you. We've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory, right? So we've got the parts here. We can help you. We can get you a process that works and a product that works forever, and you'll be happy. You're going to spend money. Like, that's the thing that blows me away. People come here thinking they're going to spend $300 and get a cabinet. I can't turn the lights on for $300, let alone sell you something that actually holds up to the test of time. Something that's going to be reliable. I mean, it takes me more money to engineer that, right, than to build that piece of junk. So, we're here. We do what we do best, and we build a really good product. It's built in Lincolnton, North Carolina. If you guys want to come visit, or you want us to come visit you, just let us know. We'll do that, and we'll sell you something, because that's what we do. I'm just being forefront with you. I'm here to sell products. I'm here to sell things that work. I would not be in front of the camera today if we sold something that didn't work. There's no secret. Talk about business a little bit. There's no secret in business, right? It's just have something that works and something that you believe in, right? And you're going to create a really good business with it. And that's what we've done here. I told you I learned about this process in 2010 or 11. I can't even remember now. I was so miserable and tired and all of that jazz, but started creating a process that works and a product that works and a product that's reliable. And, here you guys are asking questions about it, and you get to eventually use it one of these days. But you need to call in an order and get a product. I don't care if it's a micro hone. Like you have to start somewhere in this world, you know. And that's the point behind our trade-up option too. Like you have to start somewhere. I mean, I started this business in a garage, right? It was in a house, in a garage. And I started somewhere. I mean, I could have made excuses and said, I don't have any money. I don't have any time. I don't have any employees. But I wasn't a little bitch. That's the main point, right? And Grant Cardone says it best, like, don't be a little bitch, you know? Stop crying. Like, come and buy a micro home. Start a process, start moving, make money, upgrade, right? Because we're going to be here to upgrade. Call in a month and say, look, I've already had so much business come through the door because I'm marketing the crap out of this, right? And I'm giving people a good product or a good result. And buy the next cabinet and just keep going up. We have people doing that every day, which is, again, another huge component of what we do. If you're looking for BS, we're not the company for you. Right? If you're looking for somebody to sell you something that doesn't work, we're not the people. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell you, or the sales team's going to tell you it doesn't work. And that's why we're here today. You know, I'm just tired of all these little internet trolls, you know, lurking around and feeding crap out there to people that somehow buy into it. You know, like, oh, this stuff doesn't work, or this is fake, and they spray painted these parts and the machines don't work. And first off, if they don't work, like, why don't you call and tell somebody, right? Like, call and tell somebody. Call and tell me it doesn't work, because I'll probably come and fix it. It's super simple. Or we'll get you another product that works, right? If there truly is something broken on it. But I've never seen anything that's been broken, right? It's operator error. So, don't listen to those trolls that hide behind fake screen names and stuff. There's no hiding here. So, what we do is real. What we do is great, lovely. I enjoy it. It's the best thing in the world. I wouldn't do anything else. And I want more questions like this. You guys send them in. If you have questions about anything, business, don't talk about finance. I'm not a finance guy. Marketing, sales, whatever that might be, send it in. We'll answer it. That's kind of the point here, you know. If you guys want to come in and chit-chat with us, do that. You know, we can sit down and talk. If you want us to promote your business, bring it in. Bring it in. We'll promote your business. That's what we're here for. Because if we help you grow, then you help us grow, right? The old adage is, if I help you get what you want, then you'll help me get what I want, right? Well, I'll tell you what I want, and I know what you want. You want a successful business, right, that's making you money. And if you tell me you want a successful business that's making you money so you can go sit on the beach, well, that's never going to happen, because that's just a lie. Like, people who spread these lies, like these 20-year-olds driving Lambos and stuff, saying, oh, I built this business and I made $35,000 a day online. That's bold-faced lies. Like, it takes an army. It takes a team of people. How many guys do we have on payroll right now? Like 25, 26?
It's getting up there.
Like, it takes a freaking army, right? I remember doing this, and I can attest to that. Like, I remember starting this business out, having nobody, then having two people, right? Oh, wow, I thought we were massive. Thought we were getting a ton of stuff done. Like, you can't do everything in a business. You have to have help. But my point is, you want a successful business, and obviously I want a successful company as well, a company that's going to be here forever. And so I'm going to help you get what you want, and hopefully you help me get what I want, and we can move forward, you know, with something even better. So in recapping here, hopefully you guys have learned a little bit today regarding some of these really frequently asked questions. Hopefully that's been helpful. Also, stay tuned for more of these to come. We're going to be bringing some different people in on the set. If you want to come in on the set and shoot some video, we are happy to have you here. If you want us to promote your business, that's what we're here for. We will do that. There's no charge for that. It's a part of becoming a member of our team and our family. We're here to make you grow. So again, hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have questions about the process or the product or anything we talked about, call the sales team and ask them these questions. Ask them any question you have. The phone number is 828-202-5563. Follow the online dashboard, whatever you want to call that, the online system, and go to the sales office. And you'll get somebody in the sales office that can take care of your questions. So again, call the sales team if you have questions or concerns. And if you want to grow your business, then start doing business with us and we'll help you do that. So again, see you next time, and thanks for watching.